troublesome goat!
I came here looking for you. I saw you 2 days ago on the beach, chasing a goat.
That goat is always running away. Everybody has seen me chasing that goat.
My name is Kwon Tae-ryul. I run a company called Vera. We make beauty products, and I'd like you to model for us.
The wind pulled at Nanna Kwame's wrapper as she ran down the beach chasing a stray goat that had escaped from her neighbor's compound. Her long, thick black hair streamed behind her like a banner, catching the morning light. She laughed as the goat zigzagged through the sand, kicking up little clouds behind its hooves, and she nearly tripped over a fishing net someone had left out to dry. "Come here, you troublesome thing," she shouted, lunging and missing again. A group of fishermen further down the shore laughed at her, calling out encouragement, and Nanna waved them off without slowing down. This was her morning, chaotic, ordinary, hers. She didn't notice the black SUV that had pulled up near the coastal road, or the man who stepped out of it and stood very still, watching her. Kwon Tae-ryul had flown 14 hours to inspect a stretch of coastline for Vera's new African manufacturing site. He had a folder of geological survey reports under his arm and a schedule that gave him exactly 40 minutes at this location before his next meeting. He was not a man who wasted time, but he stopped walking. He watched the girl chase the goat until she finally caught it by the rope around its neck, laughing so hard she doubled over, her hair falling forward and covering half her face. When she straightened up and pushed it back, the sunlight hit her skin and made it glow like something poured from gold. His assistant, a nervous young man named Toby, cleared his throat beside him. "Sir, the site engineer is waiting for us at the north end." Tae-ryul didn't answer right away. "Sir? Who is that?" Tae-ryul asked, nodding toward Nanna, who was now leading the goat back toward the village, still smiling to herself. Toby looked confused. "I don't know, sir. A local girl, I assume." Tae-ryul kept watching until she disappeared behind a cluster of palm trees. Then he turned and walked toward the SUV without another word. But his mind stayed on the beach the entire drive to the site. That evening, he told Toby to find out everything he could about the coastal village, not for the manufacturing report, but for something else entirely. "Sir, is this related to the Vera project?" Toby asked carefully. "Just find her," Tae-ryul said. "The girl from the beach this morning." Toby didn't ask any more questions. He had worked for Tae-ryul long enough to know that when his boss's voice dropped to that quiet, deliberate tone, arguing was pointless. 2 days later, Tae-ryul returned to the village, this time on foot, dressed plainly enough that he didn't draw much attention, though his shoes alone probably cost more than most houses along that stretch of coast. He found Nanna sitting outside her family's home, braiding a smaller girl's hair while the girl squirmed and complained. "Stay still," Nanna scolded gently. "You want to look nice for church or not?" "It hurts," the girl whined. "Beauty always hurts a small bit," Nanna said, laughing. Tae-ryul stood at the edge of the compound for a moment, unsure how to announce himself. He wasn't used to feeling unsure. "Excuse me," he finally said. Nanna looked up. A stranger, clearly, tall, with long black hair pulled back neatly, wearing a plain white shirt that somehow still looked expensive. She assumed he was lost or looking for the site manager's office. "Are you looking for the construction people? The office is that way, past the big tree." "No," he said. "I'm looking for you." Nanna blinked. "Me?" "I saw you 2 days ago, on the beach, chasing a goat." She laughed before she could stop herself. "That goat is always running away. Everybody has seen me chasing that goat." "I'd like to talk to you, if you have a moment." She glanced at the little girl, then back at him, suspicion creeping into her expression.
Talk about what? My name is Kwon Tae-ryul. I run a company called Vera. We make beauty products, skincare, cosmetics, hair care. We're expanding into Africa. Okay, Nanna said slowly, still not understanding what any of this had to do with her. I'd like you to model for us.
For a moment, Nanna just stared at him. Then she burst out laughing, so hard the little girl beside her started laughing too, though she clearly didn't understand the joke. Me? Model? Nanna wiped at her eyes. Sir, I think you have made a mistake. I sell fish at the market on Fridays. I have never even taken a proper photograph in my life. I'm not joking. You were a very serious joker then, she said, still smiling. Ask anyone in my company. I don't joke about business. His voice was calm but firm enough that her smile started to fade. You're serious, she said, completely. Nanna studied him for a long moment. There was something about the stillness in his face that told her he meant every word. Still, the idea felt impossible, like something from a film. Why me? She asked. There are many beautiful women in this world, actual models. Why would a big company want a village girl who sells fish? Tae-ryul didn't answer immediately. He wanted to say something about the way she had looked on the beach, completely unaware of how striking she was, completely free, but that felt like too much to say to a stranger. Because you're different, he said instead, and different sells. Nanna crossed her arms. I don't know anything about modeling. You don't need to. We'll teach you everything. And if I say no, then I'll have wasted a trip, he said simply. But I don't think you'll say no. Why not? Because you're curious. I can see it in your face right now. Nanna opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again because he was right, and that annoyed her more than anything else he'd said. The photo shoot happened 4 days later in a rented studio space 2 hours from her village. Nanna had never seen so many lights and umbrellas and screens in her life. A woman named Seiran, kind-eyed and patient, walked her through everything, showing her where to stand and how the camera worked. Don't think about the camera. Just be yourself. Move like you would move on the beach. Nanna felt stiff and foolish for the first 10 minutes. Then the photographer put on music, something with a slow, rolling rhythm, and something in her shoulders finally loosened. She turned, laughed at something Seiran said, tossed her hair over her shoulder without thinking about it. The photographer stopped shooting for a second and looked at his screen. Come look at this, he said to Tae-ryul, who was standing off to the side, arms crossed, watching everything. Tae-ryul walked over and looked at the monitor. The image showed Nanna mid-laugh, her hair catching light, her expression completely unguarded. It didn't look like a photograph of a model, it looked like a photograph of a moment. She doesn't pose, the photographer said. She just exists in front of the camera. It's rare. Tae-ryul nodded slowly, but he didn't say what he was actually thinking, which was that he had never seen anyone look so alive in a photograph before. Nanna signed the contract 2 weeks later, after long conversations with her parents, who worried about her leaving the village, and her friend Kabi, who worried about everything on principle. You don't know these people. Big company, big money, and you, a village girl who has never even flown on a plane. Nanna, be careful. I'll be careful, she promised. And this Tae-ryul man, is he a good man? Nanna hesitated. I don't know yet. That's not a good answer. It's an honest one, she said. Kabi sighed and pulled her into a hug. Just don't forget where you come from, okay? Whatever happens over there. I won't, I promise. The campaign launched 3 months later, and it changed everything faster than anyone expected. Veyref had never had a face like Nanna's representing them, not polished in the traditional model way, but real, warm, unforgettable. Sales in West African markets rose sharply within weeks. Comment sections filled with women saying they finally saw themselves in an advertisement. During a strategy meeting in Seoul, Nanna sat quietly at the long conference table, still uncomfortable in these rooms full of executives in suits who spoke fast and used words she didn't always understand. But when the discussion turned to a new moisturizer line meant for the African market, she couldn't stay silent. "Can I say something?" she asked. The room went quiet. A few executives exchanged glances. "Go ahead," Tae-ryul said. "This product," Nanna said, pointing at the sample bottle on the table, "it will not work well for most African skin. It's too light. It doesn't have enough oil in the formula. Our skin needs something richer, especially in the dry season." One of the older executives, Bak Hwa-suk, frowned deeply. "With respect, our chemists have years of experience formulating these products. I'm not saying your chemists are bad. I'm saying maybe they have not lived with this skin. I have used products like this my whole life. I know what works and what doesn't." Hwan-suk's frown deepened, but Tae-ryul leaned forward, interested. "Continue," he said. "In the hair products," Nanna added, encouraged now, "you cannot sell the same shampoo you sell in Seoul and expect it to work the same way on natural African hair. Our hair is different. It needs different care." Seiran, sitting further down the table, nodded slowly. "She's right. I've been saying something similar for months, but nobody listened." The meeting stretched 2 hours longer than scheduled. By the end of it, Tae-ryul had assigned a small team to work directly with Nanna on reformulating the African product line. Hwan-suk said nothing more, but the tightness in his jaw was not unnoticed. After the meeting, Tae-ryul found Nanna in the hallway, still visibly shaken from speaking up in front of so many senior people. "You did well in there," he said. "I thought they were going to throw me out," she admitted. "They wanted to, I could tell," he almost smiled. "But you were right, and they knew it too." "I didn't mean to embarrass anyone." "You didn't. You told the truth. People forget how rare that is in rooms like that." They started walking together, and it became a habit neither of them announced out loud. Evening walks after long days, him explaining things about the business she didn't understand, her teaching him small phrases in Twi that made him laugh at his terrible pronunciation. "Say it again," told him Nanna one evening, watching him fumble over a simple greeting. "Mesdames wa assez," he tried, badly. Nanna doubled over laughing. No, you sound like you're choking." "I'm trying." "Try again, slower." He repeated it, still wrong, but closer, and this time she clapped for him like he had accomplished something enormous. "See?" she said. "Not so hard." "Everything is hard the first time," he said, watching her rather than the street ahead of them. Nanna glanced at him and caught the way he was looking at her, and something warm and slightly dangerous settled in her chest. She looked away first. "You should go back to your meetings before your executives think I've kidnapped your boss." "Let them think that," he said, but he walked her back anyway. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because things are about to get a lot more complicated for Nanna and Tae-ryul. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from tonight. Seo Miran arrived in Seoul on a Tuesday, unannounced, dressed in a cream coat that made her look like she'd stepped out of a magazine. She found Tae-ryul in his office, going over campaign numbers, and she didn't bother knocking. "You've been busy," she said, setting her bag down on his desk. Tae-ryul looked up, not surprised. "Mirun, I thought you were in Milan." "I was. Then I heard interesting things about your new face for Vera." She picked up a printed campaign poster from the stack on his desk, Nanna laughing, hair loose around her shoulders. "She's very pretty." "She's talented," Tae-ryul said, careful with his words.
"I'm sure she is." Mirun set the poster down and studied him instead. "You look at her differently than you look at other employees." "I don't know what you mean." "I think you do." Tae-ryul didn't respond, and his silence told Mirun everything she needed to know. She smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. "We're engaged, Tae-ryul, or have you forgotten?" "I haven't forgotten." "Then perhaps you should remember it a little more often." She found Nanna 2 days later, in the staff lounge on the 14th floor, drinking tea alone during a break. Mirun sat across from her without being invited. You're the model, Nanna, is it? Yes, Nanna said carefully. And you are? Kwon Tae-ryul's fiancée. The word landed heavier than Nanna expected. She didn't know. Nobody had told her. And somehow that fact stung more than it should have. I didn't know he was engaged, Nanna said honestly. Now you do. Mirun leaned back in her chair, studying Nanna's face like she was assessing a piece of merchandise. I've noticed the way he looks at you. I want to believe it's nothing. Tell me it's nothing. There is nothing between us, Nanna said. We work together, that's all. Good. Keep it that way. I don't need you to tell me how to behave, Nanna said, her voice firmer now. I have never chased your fiancé. I came here to work, not to steal anyone's man. Mirun's eyes narrowed slightly, surprised by the pushback. I hope that's true, for your sake. Is that a threat? It's a warning, Mirun said, standing and smoothing her coat. There's a difference, for now. She walked out without waiting for a response, and Nanna sat there for a long time afterwards, her tea going cold, her stomach twisted into a knot she couldn't undo. That night, Nanna confronted Tae-ryul in the hallway outside the studio. You're engaged, she said, before he could even greet her. Tae-ryul stopped, walking. Who told you that? Does it matter? Is it true? He was quiet for a moment too long. It's complicated. That's not an answer. Our families arranged it years ago. It was never something I chose. But you never told me, Nanna said. We talk almost every evening. You never once mentioned you had a fiancé. Because it doesn't feel real to me. It never has. It's real enough that she came all the way here to warn me away from you, so it must be real to somebody. Tae-ryul rubbed a hand over his face, frustrated with himself. Nanna, don't, she said, holding up a hand. I don't need explanations. I need you to understand something. I came here for a job, not for complications, not for another woman's fiancé. I know. Do you? Her eyes were bright with something between anger and hurt. She walked away before he could answer, and he let her go, standing alone in the hallway with a feeling he didn't have a name for. The weeks that followed grew tense in ways Nanna couldn't fully explain. Small things started going wrong. A shoot got rescheduled without her being informed properly. A campaign meeting happened without her invitation, though she was supposed to be central to it. She told herself it was coincidence, but the knot in her stomach didn't agree. Then came the meeting that ended everything. Hwan Sok called an emergency session with the board, and Nanna was summoned without explanation. When she walked in, the atmosphere in the room told her immediately that something was deeply wrong. Tae-ryul was there, his face unreadable. Mirun sat near the head of the table, calm and composed, like she already knew exactly how this would go. We have a serious matter to discuss, Hwan Sok said, sliding a folder across the table toward Tae-ryul. Documents were found showing confidential product formulas being sent from an internal account to an outside contact. The account belongs to Nanna Kwame. Nanna felt the blood drain from her face. What? That's not true. The evidence is clear, Hwan Sok said, not looking at her. Emails, timestamps, login records, all from her employee account.
I have never sent anything to anyone outside this company, Nanna said, her voice rising. I don't even know how to access most of these systems properly. The records say otherwise, Mirun said quietly. Nanna turned to Tae-ryul, desperate. You believe me, don't you? You know I wouldn't do this. Tae-ryul was staring at the documents in front of him, his jaw tight. He wanted to believe her. Every instinct told him this was wrong, but the evidence on the page was detailed, specific, damning. Give me a moment to look into this properly, he said finally. That's not a yes, Nanna said, her voice breaking slightly. Tae-ryul, that's not a yes. I need time, he said, unable to meet her eyes. Nanna felt something inside her crack. She had trusted him, believed in him, and in the one moment she needed him to stand beside her without hesitation, he had hesitated. The company suspended her contract that same week, pending investigation. Word spread fast. The campaigns featuring her face were quietly pulled from rotation. Comment sections that once praised her, now filled with cruel speculation, that she had used Tae-ryul, that she'd never belonged in that world to begin with, that village girls always overreach eventually. Nanna read some of those comments late at night in her small apartment, and she cried in a way she hadn't cried since she was a child. Cobby called her every day, worried sick. "Come home," he told her. "Forget these people. Come home where you belong." Soon, she told him, though even she wasn't sure when soon would be. Seyran was one of the only people who still believed her without hesitation. "This doesn't make sense," Seyran told her one afternoon, sitting with her in her nearly empty apartment. "You barely know how to use half the internal systems. Someone set you up." "Nobody wants to hear that," Nanna said quietly. "They already decided." "Not everybody," Seyran said. "I haven't decided anything, except that I know you, and this isn't you." A week later, Nanna packed her small suitcase and went to find Tae-ryul before she left. She found him in his office, working late, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes that hadn't been there months before. "I'm going home," she said from the doorway. He looked up, startled. "Nanna, don't," she said gently, cutting him off before he could try to stop her. "I came here because you believed in me. I am leaving because nobody does anymore, not even you, not when it mattered most." "That's not true," he said, standing. "I never stopped believing in you." "You hesitated," she said, "in front of everyone. That's all I needed to see. I was trying to protect the investigation. I didn't want to make it look like what? Like you cared about the truth more than appearances?" Her voice cracked. "I needed you to choose me in that moment, Tae-ryul. Not the company, not the process, me." He had no answer for that, because deep down he knew she was right. "Goodbye," she said, and walked out, leaving him standing alone in an office that suddenly felt too big and too quiet. Make sure you're subscribed and have liked this video, because what happens next changes everything for both of them. If you love slow burn stories with real emotional stakes, comment your predictions below. I read every single one. Nanna's return to her village was quieter than her departure had been this time. No crowd gathered to welcome her back this time. A few neighbors whispered as she passed, having heard rumors through relatives working in the city. Her mother hugged her tightly at the door without asking a single question, which somehow made Nanna cry harder than any interrogation would have. For the first 2 weeks, she barely left the house. "You cannot hide forever," her mother told her gently one morning, setting a plate of food in front of her that Nanna hadn't asked for and didn't feel like eating. "I'm not hiding," Nanna said. "I'm resting." "You are hiding," her mother said, sitting across from her. "I raised you better than to let other people's lies keep you locked in a room." Slowly, painfully, Nanna started stepping back into her old life. She helped her mother sell produce at the market. She sat by the ocean in the evenings, the same beach where everything had started, and let the sound of the waves settle something inside her that had been shaking for months. One afternoon, she noticed a group of local women struggling to sell homemade shea butter and black soap at the market, their products beautifully made but poorly packaged, overlooked by buyers who assumed cheap presentation meant cheap quality. "You need better packaging," Nanna told one of the women, examining a jar of shea butter. "And you need to tell people what makes this different. This is pure. Most of what they buy in the city is mixed with cheap oil." "We don't know how to do all that," the woman admitted. "We only know how to make it." "I can help," Nanna said, an idea forming in her chest that felt like the first real excitement she'd had in weeks. Cobby found her there one evening, sitting cross-legged in the sand with a notebook full of scribbled ideas about packaging and pricing. "Look at you," he said, dropping down beside her. "Big city model now writing business plans in the sand like a market woman."
I am a market woman, Nanna said, not looking up. I was always a market woman. Seoul just made me forget it for a while. You don't sound bitter anymore, Kwame said, studying her face. Last month you sounded bitter. I was bitter last month. She finally looked up at him. Now I'm just tired of being angry. Anger doesn't pay for packaging. Kwame laughed and picked up one of the jars sitting beside her notebook, turning them over his hands. This is good work, Nanna. Better than good. You should be proud. I am proud, she admitted. For the first time in a long while, I'm building something that's actually mine. Nobody can take this away from me with fake documents and lies. And the Korean man, Kwame asked carefully, have you heard from him? No, and I don't expect to. You sound almost disappointed. I'm not, she said quickly, then sighed when Kwame raised an eyebrow at her. Maybe a little. It doesn't matter. I have work to do. Her mother wasn't so easily convinced either. She found Nanna one night sitting outside long after everyone else had gone to sleep, staring up at the stars. You are thinking about him, her mother said, not a question. I'm thinking about the business, Nanna lied. Nanna Kwame, I carried you for 9 months. Don't lie to your own mother. Her mother sat down beside her, pulling her shawl tighter against the night air. It's all right to miss someone, even someone who hurt you. Missing them doesn't mean you have to forgive them. He hesitated when I needed him most, Nanna said quietly. How do I forget that? You don't forget it. You decide whether what comes after the hesitation matters more than the hesitation itself. That is a different question, and only you can answer it. Nanna didn't have an answer that night. She simply leaned her head against her mother's shoulder and let the sound of the ocean fill the silence between them. Back in Seoul, Tae-ryul was falling apart in a much quieter, more controlled way, the kind that only people who worked closely with him could see. He worked longer hours, he snapped at people less often than expected, but smiled even less than that. Se-ran noticed it first. You should talk to her, Se-ran said, catching him alone in the hallway one evening. She doesn't want to hear from me. Have you asked her, or have you just decided that for her? Tae-ryul didn't answer, and Se-ran shook her head, disappointed. You let her walk away when she needed you the most. The least you could do now is find out the truth, so you have something real to bring back to her, instead of more apologies. That conversation stuck with him more than he expected. That night, he pulled every file related to the leaked documents and started going through them line by line, something he should have done from the beginning instead of trusting Hwan Sok's summary. The deeper he dug, the more things didn't add up. The timestamps on the supposed leaked emails didn't match the security logs showing when Nanna had actually badged into the building that day. The IP address associated with the email account traced back to a location Nanna had never even visited. He called in the head of internal security the next morning.
I need a full forensic review of this account, Tae-ryul said, sliding the folder across the desk. Everything, every login, every access point, going back 6 months. That will take time, sir. Then start now. 3 days later, the report came back, and it confirmed exactly what Tae-ryul had begun to suspect. The emails had been sent using access credentials that were technically registered to Nanna's account, but the login pattern didn't match her usual behavior at all. Someone with administrative access had used her credentials remotely, likely without her ever knowing her account had been compromised. Who has that level of administrative access? Tae-ryul asked, already feeling something cold settle in his chest. The security officer hesitated. Very few people, sir. Executive level only. Tae-ryul thought of Hwan Suk's face in that meeting, refusing to look Nanna directly. He thought of how quickly the evidence had appeared, how neatly it had been packaged, how perfectly timed it had been to coincide with Mir-yun's visit. He found Se-ran that afternoon and showed her everything. I knew it, Se-ran said, anger flashing across her usually calm face. I knew she didn't do this.
I need to find out who exactly did it, and I need proof, not just suspicion. Serran helped him quietly gather more evidence over the following week, cross-referencing calendar records, badge access logs, and internal communications. What they found painted a clear picture. Hwan Suk had access to the necessary systems. Mir-yun had visited the building on the exact days the emails were sent, despite having no official business there. Tae-ryul confronted Hwan Suk directly in his office, closing the door behind him. "Explain this," Tae-ryul said, dropping the security report on the desk. He glanced at it, his face carefully neutral. "I don't know what you're referring to. The login credentials used to send those emails don't match Nanna's usual pattern, but they do match access patterns tied to your administrative login on 2 separate occasions. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious report," Tae-ryul said, "compiled by our own security team. Would you like to explain it, or should I bring in outside investigators to explain it for you?" Hwan Suk's composure finally cracked. "She never belonged here," he said, his voice tight with something close to contempt. "A village girl with no education in this business, telling seasoned executives how to run product lines, changing formulas that took years to develop. I did what was necessary to protect this company from a dangerous distraction. You framed an innocent woman. I protected Vera's leadership from being reshaped by someone who has no right to reshape it. That wasn't your decision to make," Tae-ryul said, his voice deadly quiet now. "And handing over strategic control to a fisherman's daughter was yours?" Hwan Suk shot back. Tae-ryul stared at him for a long moment. "You're finished here. I want your resignation on my desk by tomorrow morning, or I'll make sure this entire board sees exactly what you did, along with the legal consequences that come with it." Hwan Suk said nothing more. He didn't need to. The next confrontation was harder. Tae-ryul found Mir-yun at her family's estate, sitting in the garden with a cup of tea, unbothered as always. "You knew," Tae-ryul said, standing over her. "You knew what he did, and you let it happen. You might have even helped." Mir-yun set her cup down slowly. "I did what I had to do. You destroyed an innocent woman's reputation because you were jealous. I did it to protect what's mine," Mir-yun said, finally letting some heat into her voice. "You think I didn't see it? The way you looked at her? The way you laughed with her? I've known you for years, Tae-ryul, and you never once looked at me the way you looked at her. That doesn't give you the right to ruin her life. She was never supposed to matter this much," Mir-yun said quietly. "She was supposed to be a campaign face, nothing more. She became more because she's remarkable. That's not a crime." Mir-yun's eyes filled with something between anger and grief. "And what am I supposed to do with that? Just step aside gracefully while you chase a girl who sells fish at a market? You're supposed to have never done what you did," Tae-ryul said. "This engagement is over. I'll make sure our families understand exactly why." He walked away, and for the first time in years, he didn't look back to see how she reacted. If this story has you invested, this is exactly the moment to smash that like button, because it tells me to keep bringing you stories like this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments if you think Nanna will forgive him. The flight to Ghana felt longer than any flight Tae-ryul had ever taken, though technically it was shorter than most of his usual business trips. He spent most of it staring out the window, rehearsing words that felt inadequate every time he ran them through in his head. He found the village easily this time, having memorized the route from his very first visit. He asked around until someone pointed him toward the small shop near the market where a group of women had recently started selling shea butter and soap with a simple, elegant new label. He saw Nanna before she saw him. She was helping an older woman arrange jars on a table, laughing at something, her hair pulled back in a simple braid, sunlight catching the golden undertone of her skin exactly the way it had that very first morning. She looked up, and her smile faded the moment she recognized him. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice guarded. "I came to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you," she said, turning back to the jars on the table, though her hands were shaking slightly now. "Please," he said, "5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." The older woman beside Nanna glanced between them, then quietly excused herself, leaving them alone near the edge of the market. "I found out the truth," Tae-ryul said. "Hwan Sok framed you. He used your login credentials without your knowledge to send those emails. Mirun knew about it, possibly helped arrange it. I have proof, full forensic reports, everything." Nanna's expression didn't soften as much as he'd hoped. "So now you believe me." "I always believed you," he said. "I just didn't fight hard enough when it mattered." "That's the same thing, Tae-ryul." Her voice was steady, but she could hear the hurt underneath it. "Believing something quietly in your heart means nothing if you don't defend it out loud when someone needs you to." "You're right," he admitted. "I failed you. I let the company's process matter more than standing beside you in that room. I've regretted it every single day since you left. Regret doesn't undo the humiliation I went through. It doesn't undo the months I spent hiding in my mother's house because I was too ashamed to face people who whispered lies about me." "I know," he said quietly. "I can't undo any of that. I can only tell you the truth now and hope it means something, even if it's too late." Nanna wiped at her eyes angrily, refusing to let herself cry in front of him again. "Why are you really here? To clear your conscience?" "No," he said. "I'm here because I miss you. Not the campaigns, not the meetings. You. The way you argue with me about product formulas. The way you laugh at my terrible twee. The way you make everyone around you braver just by being honest." Nanna looked away, toward the ocean beyond the market stalls, saying nothing for a long moment. "You should go back to Seoul, deal with your company, clear my name properly if that's what you're offering, but don't expect me to fall back into your arms just because you flew here and said some nice words." "I'm not expecting anything," Tae-ryul said. "I'll clear your name regardless of what you decide about me. That was never conditional." Something in his voice made Nanna believe him, even through her anger. "Then do that first," she said. "Prove it with actions, not words." "Understood," he said, and to her surprise he didn't push further. He simply nodded, turned, and walked away, leaving her standing there with her heart in more pieces than it had been before he arrived. But he didn't leave the country.
Instead, Tae-ryul rented a small room near the village and stayed. He issued a public statement within the week, clearing Nanna's name completely, detailing the internal investigation, confirming Hwan Sok's termination and the fraudulent evidence used against her. The story spread quickly, and this time the narrative flipped entirely in her favor. Comment sections filled with apologies and support. Campaigns featuring her face were reinstated, though Nanna felt strangely detached from all of it now. What she noticed more was that Tae-ryul stayed in the village. She saw him occasionally, helping unload supplies at the market, awkwardly attempting to haggle in broken twee that made the local traders laugh good-naturedly. She saw him sitting quietly at the edge of gatherings, listening more than speaking, clearly trying to understand a world that was completely foreign to him.
One evening, she found him sitting alone near the beach, watching the sunset, no assistants around him, no phone in his hand. "You're still here," she said, sitting a careful distance away from him in the sand. "I told you I wasn't leaving until I proved it," he said. "Clearing my name was proof enough." "That wasn't the only thing I meant to prove." Nanna glanced at him. "What else then?" "That I can exist in your world too, not just expect you to exist in mine." She was quiet for a while, watching the waves roll in and out. "You've been terrible at haggling, you know." He laughed, a genuine sound she hadn't heard from him in months. "I've noticed. Kwame auntie at the market has been overcharging you every single time." "I know. I let it. It seemed rude to argue." "That's not how the market works," Nanna said, smiling despite herself. "You're supposed to argue. It's part of the fun." "Then teach me, properly this time." He didn't try to force his way back into her days. He simply showed up again and again in small, unremarkable ways until his presence stopped feeling like an intrusion and started feeling almost normal. "You're persistent," Nanna told him one afternoon, watching him fail spectacularly at carrying a basket of cassava on his head, the way the local women did it with ease. "I've been called worse," he said, the basket wobbling dangerously before he caught it. "You're going to drop it." "I know."
He dropped it a second later, cassava scattering across the sand, and the women nearby laughed so hard one of them had to sit down. Tae-ryul laughed too, unbothered, gathering the cassava back into the basket, while Nanna watched him with an expression she was trying very hard to keep neutral. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked, kneeling to help him pick up the last few pieces, embarrassing yourself in front of the whole village. "Because it makes you smile," he said simply, "and I haven't seen you smile at me in a long time." Nanna's hands stilled for a moment over the scattered cassava. "That's not a fair thing to say." "It's true, though." "True things aren't always fair," she said, standing and brushing sand from her wrapper. "You hurt me, Tae-ryul. Smiling at your clumsiness with a basket doesn't erase that." "I'm not trying to erase it," he said, standing too, facing her directly. "I'm trying to earn something new alongside it. The hurt doesn't have to disappear for us to build something honest going forward." Nanna didn't have a response for that. She simply picked up the basket, adjusted it properly on her own head without spilling a single piece, and walked toward the market, leaving him to catch up. Their conversation slowly returned to something resembling their old rhythm, though carefully, without either of them rushing back into what had been broken. Nanna showed him how the women in the village made shea butter from raw shea nuts, the long process of roasting and grinding and boiling. He watched more than he talked, genuinely curious in a way that surprised her. "This could scale beautifully," he said one afternoon, watching the women work, "not as charity, as a proper business, with fair partnerships, fair pay." "I've been thinking the same thing," Nanna admitted. "I want to build something here, something that belongs to us, not something borrowed from your company." "Then build it. And if you ever want a partner, someone who understands manufacturing and distribution, someone who won't try to take credit or control away from you, I'd like to be considered." "Not funded by you," she clarified immediately. "I won't take charity, Tae-ryul. Not from you, not from anyone." "Not charity," he agreed. "A real partnership. You keep creative control, equal ownership. I bring resources and distribution networks. Nothing more, nothing less, unless you want it to be." Nanna studied him carefully, searching for any trace of the businessman trying to manipulate a deal, but found only sincerity. "I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking." Weeks turned into a season, and the beauty line slowly took shape, built from the ground up with input from the local women who had been making these products for generations. Nanna negotiated every term of the partnership herself, refusing to sign anything until she fully understood it, pushing back whenever Vera's lawyers tried to insert clauses that favored the company over the local producers.
"This line is not decoration," she told the legal team firmly during one negotiation call. "Their fair share is non-negotiable." Tae-ryul, sitting in on the call, said nothing, letting her handle every point of the negotiation herself, quietly proud of how completely she had grown into this version of herself. When the beauty line finally launched under the name Nanna had chosen, Oba Fine, it performed beyond anything even Tae-ryul's most optimistic projections had predicted. Nanna returned to Vera's offices, but not as a model this time, and not as anyone's assistant. She returned as the creative head of the African beauty division, sitting at the same conference table where she had once been humiliated, now leading the very discussions that shaped the company's future in that market. Hwan Sok's old allies, who had once dismissed her, now greeted her with careful respect, and Nanna accepted it without arrogance, but also without pretending she'd forgotten how they had once treated her. Mi-ren's engagement to Tae-ryul was officially and publicly ended, the details of her involvement in the framing eventually surfacing through the same investigation that had exposed Hwan Sok, damaging her family's standing within their social circle. She left Seoul quietly, and neither Nanna nor Tae-ryul spoke of her much after that. One evening, months later, Nanna and Tae-ryul walked along the same beach where everything had started, the sun dipping low over the water, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you remember what you said to me that first day?" Nanna asked. "The different cells." "I remember," he said. "You were wrong, you know," she said, smiling. "You didn't want me because I was different. You wanted me because I was real. There's a difference." "Maybe I didn't fully understand that back then. I do now." They walked in comfortable silence for a while before Tae-ryul finally spoke again. "I'm not going to propose. Not yet, anyway." Nanna laughed, surprised. "That's a strange thing to announce." "I know you need something more important than a ring right now. You need trust, built slowly, properly, without either of us rushing into something because it feels urgent. I want to earn that with you, not assume it." Nanna stopped walking and looked at him, really looked at him, searching his face for the calculation she used to expect from powerful men, and finding none of it there. "That," she said softly, "is the first truly smart thing you've said since I met you." He laughed, and she laughed with him, and for a moment, neither of them needed to say anything else. They kept walking as the sun sank further, her hair moving gently in the evening breeze, his hand finding hers without either of them making a decision about it. It simply happened, natural and unhurried, the way real things tend to happen when nobody forces them. He had first noticed her because she was beautiful. He stayed because he discovered who she truly was, and that turned out to matter far more than any photograph ever could. If this story moved you, don't scroll away without hitting subscribe, because there are so many more emotional journeys like this one waiting for you. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment from Nanna and Tae-ryul's story. Hit that like button if you want to see more slow burn romances like this, and I'll see you in the next one.